Welcome, friends, to the Academy call for December 2018. T, you are our final guest expert call for 2018, and I'm so grateful to have you here. You guys, Tamara Arnold is a business energy strategist. She is basically a magician, like legitimately a magician. She is my soul sister. Tamara is the one that helped me uncover my title of intuitive life coach. Tamara has read my energy multiple times, and she's helped me to really like pinpoint where I have the opportunity to just give myself a little bit more space, a little bit more freedom, a little bit more of me and my truth, which you guys know is like the most important thing to me and what I serve with. So it's just so great to have those soul sisters in your life, as you guys know by being a part of this, who are able to see you, love you, call you on your stuff, and then love you through the process of you unfolding that. So that's what Tamara is for me. Girlfriend, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you guys for opening up and allowing me into your space, because it is a sacred space. And I look at even like this, just here with you guys, as being sacred. So I'm excited.
Thank you. And we've got about, I would say almost 30 people in the Academy. So many, many more of us are here and watching and just, energetically in this, even if it's on the recording or whatnot. So you've got a space, sister. And I'm grateful for you.
I love you. I'm grateful too. I love Love Fest. It's the best.
So I'm going to kind of kick it off, and then I did open up to everybody if they've got questions to kind of dive in. But T, what do you do? What do you do, and why is it important?
So I love that question, because what it's come down to is different than what I thought it was in the beginning. And I think that this is a really powerful conversation to have, because even when I was stepping into receiving spiritual guidance in the beginning, I had no idea that it was a thing, by the way. First of all, I thought I was crazy. In the beginning, I was like, okay, something's wrong, because I actually come from a long line of mental illness in my family. Like my mom has mental illness, my sister, my son, my daughter. Like it's so at first I was like, is it my turn to like, really look into this? But the thing is that there was some part of me that knew that the guidance was telling me to do really wonderful things, really powerful things, game-changing things, showing up in my life more, and really stepping fully into listening to myself and to this guidance only. And I came to this guidance through depression. So when my son was 17, him and I, because he was very toxic, and he stopped living with me at the age of 16. By 17, I had to do something that no mother wants to do. And I had to say to my 17-year-old son, listen, son, this isn't okay. And this is a really huge, because this is where I started to tap into spiritual guidance, was a lesson of detaching myself emotionally from my son. And detaching becomes a very, very, very strong principle that I utilize in all areas of my life now, which I can get into later. But like the detaching emotionally from my son, to be strong enough to say, if this wasn't my son, right, would I allow anyone in my life to treat me this way? And the answer was no, right? And so I had to make a really difficult decision, and it was so hard, guys. And so when I tell the story in this way, it might not come across as how difficult it was, but my son was in the hospital at the time. Oh no, he wasn't in the hospital. That was at 16. But I just basically said, we need to cut cords, and we're no longer talking. And I was willing, because I'd said it before, right? As parents, we do that thing, where it's like, if you do this, then this is going to happen. And then we're like, just kidding. I don't really mean that. But this time I meant it. And I was willing to break the repetitive pattern that we had kind of going on since he was wee. And I went into a deep depression, because what kind of mother does that? And angry other parents were going to come to my door with pitchforks and go like, you did that to your son. Like, you are a failure, and you are the worst parent in the land. And
Isn't that
so
amazing that we tell ourselves stories like that, though? I mean, this is a really, 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 really deep thing, but that just goes to show, like, the stories that we're telling all over the place.
mm-hmm,
And the
mm-hmm.
externally laden stories, too.
And it is. I think that this is a really powerful conversation to have because we create the emotions and the thoughts and the feelings of others to keep, like, I almost say, to protect ourselves from having to move into the next thing. But when I was in that deep depression, that's where I learned about meditation. That's when I started to hear the voices in meditation. And then when I actually began to trust them, when I didn't think I was crazy, and then I started to hear them outside of meditation. And guys, like, there's a piece of this story where I was petrified to tell anyone, even my husband, that this was happening to me, because I thought he would leave me because it wasn't the person he married. And now I'm expanding into a new version of myself, and I thought everything in my life was going to fall apart. Here I'm receiving this beautiful conversation, like with some spiritual guides, and magic is happening in my own little personal world, and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to tell a single soul, not my friends, not my family, not my husband, not anyone, because they're going to leave me.
Scary place to be.
Just a little bit, but then, like I told you, then the one day you just say, okay, well, I can't keep this to myself anymore, because I need to move forward with it, and I need to just own it. And that's when I came out of the spiritual closet, was at the end of the fall of 2016. Right. And at this point, it might sound weird, but I was being guided in the things of, like, create a 52-week coloring agenda. These were my downloads, as I call them. So I made a 52-week coloring agenda. And the reason I did that was because Spirit told me, and I'd never finished anything in my life. I was a starter and a non-finisher. I don't know if anyone is guilty of that in the past. And it's like, I start all the things, and never, ever had I completed a single thing in my life. And so it was like, that was given to me to be the thing that I completed, so that I could have that trust in myself that I was a finisher and that I could do something. And so once I had stepped into that and received that and taken action on that, because in my mind, guys, no word of a lie, I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, what is this for? Right? And then it moved forward into the next phase, which was make a 52-week intention card deck. Because words have power and words have meaning, and you're going to be the person to do this deck. And I was like, okay, sure thing. I'm going to make this deck. So I did, right? Like, I made this deck. Again, I'm thinking to myself, why am I doing these things? What is the purpose of this? Like, what's going on? And then at the end of 2016, I went to an event, and that was the game changer for me, because it was at this event that I actually released, because I was acting like I was in the know of the law of attraction up until that moment. I was like, yeah, I do all the things. I meditate. I do the secret. I'm like, I do on paper what people tell you to do to be in manifestation and receiving and all that kind of stuff. So I should be, pulling in all the abundance, because that's what it looks like. But I had to do one other thing before it would all actually work. And that was release shame, guilt, and blame. Who knew? Right? Because it was up until that event that I was feeling responsible for my mom's and my son's mental illness.
Yeah. How do we do that? If we want to step into manifestation in our lives, and we just have to release shame, guilt, and blame, how in the hell do we do that?
So what I've learned now is that, first and foremost, everything is a choice. Right? And it takes just as much effort to look at blaming others or blaming ourselves as it does to release them. Right? It's like turning your head. That's the amount of effort. It's the exact same. But we just get caught into the pattern that we were given our entire life, is to focus this way. Nobody tells us that we can turn our head. Nobody says there's a whole other view over here that you can look towards, right? And so I was able, like, honest to good gracious, it was as simple as realizing, it was just like choosing the other thought, right? So I didn't blame myself anymore. And instead I realized, again, that they were their own human experiences going through the life they chose to live. And I don't need to take responsibility for that. That's huge. Like we all need to do that. And the actual way that I do it now is cord cutting, right? Like that's like my power. I call it like the sword of light. So like
The sort of light.
the sword of light. It's like ninja. We can all be ninja warriors where
Yeah.
well, because anytime we have an attachment to somebody or we feel responsible for somebody, one of two things is happening is that we have attached to an event or an experience or something that they've said, or just energetically they're in a bad mood and we're just like, oh, I feel responsible for that somehow. Maybe it was how I said something. Maybe it was how I did that in front of them. Maybe it was, you know, something that I didn't do. We don't know. And so we create like this negative cord of attachment between us and somebody else. And it's the same way as like, you know, if like my husband's going through some depression right now. And so I can attach a cord to him just as easily as he can to me, thinking, oh, did I do something? Did I not do something? Right? Like, am I causing his mood? Am I doing this? Right? So cord cutting is simply maintaining a really strong heart connection from our heart to their heart, as like, because we are people of love from the universe on this planet. And so we never want to lose our heart, our love connection, because that's what life is about. That's boil it all down. It's just love. And so taking scissors or sort of like, and just cutting the connection between us and anyone else that is no longer serving any of us. It is like, and I can give you guys a cord cutting meditation. I'll just give it to you and you can put it in your group.
Do you have one?
Yes.
I was going to ask you, like, do you do a ritual or do you do something, or are you just like, all right, I'm done? Like, so that's good. That's good. That's good to know.
I'll give you the cord cutting meditation, but you get really, really fast. It's like, there's like times where legitimately I'll be like in line at the grocery store and the person behind me is like pissy and you know they're pissy, and I'll be like, scratch my head down, like, you know, nonchalantly cutting a cord with them because I'm like, I don't really, or the cashier, you're like, what's up with you? And it's just like, in the moment, you're just like, in the car, whatever, not mine, right? I can sit beside my husband and he knows, like we'll be in the mall and I'll be like, It becomes really powerful. Because why do we have to make it hard? Why can't we just be like, that's not mine? But in the beginning, when I was first doing my cord cutting, especially with my son, it was like, we are heart to heart. And I could barely see him through all of the gunk that was attaching us, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm cutting and I'm cutting and I'm cutting and I'm cutting. And then Ho'oponopono is in there in the meditation. And this is a very powerful forgiveness and releasing statement, which is, I forgive you, I love you, and I'm sorry. Extremely powerful. And so we're doing the cord cutting in the meditation I'll give you guys with the Ho'oponopono, which is the forgiveness prayer. And so it's like a double awesome.
Yeah. You have both knives going.
Right? You know, because like, come on, like how fun is that? We can totally be however, Xena or Shira or like, you know, whoever.
All of the badasses. All of them. Tamara, okay, which way do I want to go? Let's go into business, because all the women in the academy are building businesses, and the way that I really feel connected to is really discovering who they truly are first. And then once they have that solid foundation, building up from there. So how can we, in your experience maybe, or what would be your advice on energetically getting more connected to each step of the process in business building? You are expert at reading the energy. How can we become expert at reading the energy of our businesses?
So, yeah. So I had somebody on the podcast the other day, and she made it perfectly clear to me. We need to do it through a space of self-centeredness. So one of the most powerful things I can say, guys, is I'm just going to talk about the root chakra, if that's okay, because the very essence that I believe is that there's three types of energy. There's the energy of our mindset, right? That's perception, trust, all of these kinds of things. Then there's the energy of our physical body, which is the 7 floors of our energetic house. And then there's the energy of exchange with the outside world, right? Ideally, what we want to get to a place, because business, self-employment, like being a badass entrepreneur and doing our internal work, go hand in hand. We can't really have one without the other, because we can only be as successful as we have space within us to hold, right? And ideally what we want is whatever it is that the universe is bringing us to have, for it to have a clear path down to our root chakra. And this is why I want to talk about the root chakra, where like a mirror, it reflects back up into the universe like a bat signal, where all of our people just see that and be like, they could be like, oh, you know, I don't know what everybody does. I have a birth story that isn't working for me. And it's like they can just look up and your energy is just up there. So they just are like, oh, that person is clearly who the person I need.
Yeah.
But that takes the mirror of the root chakra. And I'm talking about this because the root is the foundation. So if I'm going to talk to you about business, everything is based on having a strong foundation. And really, root is connection to the people we are here to serve, right? And the people that we are here to serve is our clan, our tribe, our posse, however you want to call it. Now, what people don't realize is that when we are born into a family, and then we believe that that is our clan, our posse, our tribe, right? And sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not, right? And so we spend all of this time, which is the very foundation of who we are, trying to convince people who are not our people that they should be our people, right? Like, you see what I'm doing is really awesome. And they're like, no, I don't think that what you're doing is really awesome. And you're like, but if I tell you I do it this way, do you think if it's awesome? And they're like, no, we're not picking up anything that you're putting down. This is a bad idea. And yet we continuously keep trying to fit into the group or the tribe or the collective that is not ours. And it could be family, it could be friends, it could be anything, right? But we're caught into one of four things, which is seeking approval, fear of judgment, people pleasing, or not having clear boundaries. That's what's happening when we are energetically aligning with people who are not our people. And so that leaves us paralyzed, because root chakra is the chakra of action. Because if we're draining our energy over here, at the end of the day, we're like, I'm doing everything wrong. Nobody likes what I'm doing. This is all bad, right? And so it's almost like we wake up with a brand new full energy bank, depositing it in the wrong envelopes all day long, and then there's nothing left for the people we are actually here to serve. So the awareness, guys, is like, if you want to serve people at the highest level that you possibly can, then we realize we stop talking to people who are not our tribe. We no longer ask for their thoughts, feelings, and emotions about what we're doing, because we know the answer. And so why would we be like, because I'm going to use it as my dad. I sought my dad's approval my whole life. Dad, look, I'm a personal trainer. And he was like, that's nice. You'll never make a living with that. And I'm like, oh, that hurt. Dad, look, I made this a coloring agenda. That's nice. It'd be actually cool if you sold it. Oh, Dad, look, I'm writing books. You know what I mean? Like, it was always like, Dad. And he was just like, never my person, right? And so me doing these for my dad's approval never would actually have me actually being on a call in a mastermind with people that I was here to serve. So I had to get rid of that approval. I could still love my dad, but not tell him anything, right? I could still sit with my dad over coffee and breakfast and whatever. And if he asked, I could be like, it's really funny because people just don't think we work, by the way. I'm sure you guys have all figured that out in your families. They're like, you don't actually have a job. And I'm like, yeah, all right, okay. Because we sit in our houses on our computers all day, and they can't associate that in their thoughts as being a real business. And so I don't know if you guys
totally
that. That's my thing, right? So we no longer, because the truth of the matter is we could spend 100% of our energy, right, trying to get the people who are in our tribe convinced that they are. And they're always not impressed. We could then take that to a 5%, even give 5% of our energy towards the people that are not in our tribe, our family, friends, whoever, and like, just still say what we're doing, maybe it'll happen, but 5%, not invested, not connected to the outcome. And the result that they give us is the same. So why are we wasting 95% of our energy for the same results as if we're banking at the high level or the low level, right? So keep your energy to yourself so that you have it left over for the actual collective that is your vibrational match and why you were put on this earth with your light, your shine, your vibration, everything to impact them. So that's why it's such a powerful, powerful chakra. And guys, I'm going to touch on them all because that's just approval. Fear of judgment.
We're here. We're able and open and willing to receive.
Yeah, you just put your hands up. You can stop me. You can ask questions. You can do anything. Yeah. I just get really, really juiced up on this when I'm talking about it. Right?
That's why you're here, sister.
So like the fear of judgment. Let's think about that briefly in what it is energetically. So before we actually take action on something, so we get an inspired idea, like, oh, my person would really, really love it if I told them that I was going to do, I'm just making something up. I am going to do it, but I'm going to, like, a vision board making night, right? Like, I'm going to do that in the end of December for my people, because I know that as manifest, that's just what they're looking for. And then when we go to make the post, we're like, oh, but if Aunt Donna sees it, she's gonna make a comment that's not cool. She's gonna tell me it's ridiculous and that I shouldn't do it, right? And then once Aunt Donna sees it, she's gonna tell cousin Jim that I'm doing it, and the whole family is gonna have a whole conversation about like what I'm doing and how it's ridiculous and I'm wasting my life. And we can get caught in that simply by having an inspired idea and then fearing an outcome that hasn't actually happened yet. Right? Is that fear of judgment of one person, even one person, that prevents us from taking action to serve our community and tribe. And so my call to you guys is to realize that we might be afraid of the judgment of one or two people. And the truth is, vibrationally, they'll never see your post, just so you know, unless your fear is greater than your desire to serve, because it won't, energy works that way. If you're up here and they're down here, they'll bypass each other. Right? Because
but if we're focused on, I hope they don't see it, I hope they don't see it, then we are here, so they will see it.
100% you're making that happen. Right? So I love you. With love, I say that, right?
Yes.
So the thought is like, we don't focus on them. That's that turning of the head. Because for maybe two people that might judge us, there's 30, 40, 50, 100 who that post will serve.
Right. It's so interesting because, so this week has been a really heavy one for me. And I boxed Amber, our coach, because Tamara's in my inner circle, you guys. And I said, I was like, I'm trying not to look at it, but this is what's going on. And she goes, honey, what if we stopped focusing on your bad feeling and you chose the better feeling thought? And I was like, oh yeah. And I know this stuff, you guys, right? But like, it's so powerful. That's why we have tribes. That's why we have sisterhood, to be reminded of it. Because I freaking know that, but I was spending all my time looking at what I didn't want to be feeling instead of looking at anything else, which was what I did want to be feeling. So I love that reflection. I love the way that you described that really well.
It's so, and even if you were afraid of one person and you focused on one person, you could serve instead. Like, we don't have to go into those big numbers. It's just like choosing, am I going to let one person who I can't help define what I do, my inspired action or my thought or my feeling or my emotion, and that, or would I focus on the one person who does? Sidebar. Guys, I'm getting serious here. It's my personal belief is if I think that somebody is in my Facebook pool or my Instagram pool that I have like fear of judgment over, I'm going to take them out.
Yes.
Just a side story.
Yeah.
Just because I'm kind of in control, as you are, of your inner circle reality, things like that.
Well, and I love that you said that, because we don't have to be the victim of this crazy, like, fairy tale circumstance that we've told ourselves that we do. We literally do have the ability to say, unfriend. And actually, another example, because you guys all know I'm feeling Thrive right now, my free group, and I sent a message to somebody, and then I sent a follow-up because she hadn't responded. Her response back was, would you please stop spamming me? Now, I could have been like, oh, this person hates me. Oh my God, am I spamming her? Am I a horrible person? Or I could have gone, what I did, and said, oh, I'm so sorry that you feel that way. This was intended to really be of service to you. I hope you have a very Merry Christmas. Sent, unfriend. That's literally what I just did an hour ago. So we've got that right, you guys, and we've got that control. And it's not the grippy control. It's the, no, like, I'm standing up for myself and standing in total integrity with what I'm doing in this world.
Which is a perfect lead-in, by the way, Jillian,
Kind of like the plant that.
to our boundaries,
Yes.
our own boundaries.
Yeah.
Right? I call in the work I do, I call them personal policies, because technically, and I'm talking about this from a business perspective, a business has policies, right? People, show up at this time, they leave at this time, they like, you know what I mean? All of their policies are in place, but guess what? We are the business. So we have our own personal policies. Like, I don't touch my phone for at least an hour after I wake up. I'm aiming for 2 until my entire morning routine is done. I get in front of my computer at 10. I'm done work at 6. That's it. No more. Like, I'm not seeking or striving or convincing or anything by holding extra space for them because I have a family, right? We create the boundary that is our personal way that we stay at the highest level of service that we possibly can. And so that includes our self-care routine, whatever yours is. These become non-negotiables. Because when we take care of ourselves and we go into that space of service for ourselves first, we are of a greater service to those in our life, not just our clients, our families, our kids, our everything, right? Because we don't want to be at night with our children going, I didn't send that email. I have to do the thing, all of those pieces, right? So the personal policies is the creation of your energy, setting so that you can leave it. You've got it written down, you know that, you know what I mean? To be with my kids, and I devote from -10 to 6 in my business, right? And that gives
so you literally just helped me write a new one as you were talking, so thank you.
Hey, and it's no problem. Just throwing all mine in and seeing whatever works for everybody is what works for everybody, right? But these boundaries, because the truth is, the people that are in your vibrational match honor the shit out of boundaries. They will love that you have boundaries. They would never ask you to step outside or smudge your boundary lines. They'd be like, that's so amazing. I respect you for your boundaries. The people who are not our people will be like, just for me, just this once. Yeah. Can't you just do it? You never see me. They guilt you. And you're just like, what? Why would you say these things? It's not nice. You don't make me feel better. You are not nice, right? So we have the choice then to not feed into that, right? Because people who are part of our people honor our boundaries.
I love that.
Which brings us to people pleasing, which is the last one. Guys, I'm going to drop it like it's hot for people pleasing. People pleasing is the best way that we convince ourselves not to do our work on ourselves. Because I'm being so helpful and I'm helping all the other people. In the helping of the other people, I don't have to go really into them myself because I'm a nice person. I'm a helpy person. I do all the things for all the people. But they're not the right people, or else you wouldn't need to try and please them with all the things you do. So you can see why devoting all of that energy to approval, people-pleasing, boundaries, and judgment saps you, demolishes your ability to show up and take action for the people who are actually your vibrational match, or we can say your soul's calling reflection. Yeah. So when we can learn to just shut off the noise of those people. Somebody inhaled that. I just felt a deep inhale there. Then we have the opportunity to create the space from within us to serve them. Anybody have questions about the root chakra?
Questions? It's so hard when we can't see everybody. If you've got questions, write them on in.
Yeah, guys, it's totally cool if you don't have questions.
Yeah, if you guys have questions, just write them in the chat and then I can relay them too.
Right, but I want you guys to know that's, I feel like everybody's coming into their body right now. I'm feeling like this is where we're sinking in, we're coming in. Because I'll just kind of go up what the floors are then, if nobody has any questions. That's the most powerful one. Right? Because that's the one that we take action of service with. The next one's sacral. And I always reflect that the root chakra has the capacity to affect all the other ones. because once we get into sacral, sacral is our ability to be seen, right? To actually get, like I always define sacral as standing confidently in your body, declaring your mission out into the world, which is two things. Confidence in your body, meaning you got to love up on all the pieces, right? All of you. Because here's the thing. This is my serious face, guys, when I get really close.
Oh, I just want to like eat you up.
You chose this human body exactly the way it is. Your hair, your eyes, your arms, your skin, your thighs. We choose it before we land in this body because it is exactly what it needs to be to serve our people. Right? If we looked any different, we wouldn't be in the connection of our collective. And I will tell you, like, I have this open, inviting, very like peaceful persona. My hair, my skin, my everything. I have the capacity for people to tell me they're everythings. But I truly believe if I looked like Barbie, right? Just imagine me with the Barbie, the whole look. My people would be intimidated to tell that physical being all of their stuff. I would be intimidated to tell Barbie my physical stuff and my internal stuff too, but that's just me. And so I love, and I mean, I really love, because the first phase of the loving of the body is like, we all put cream on anyway. So like just start when you're putting the cream on to be like, I love you legs, I love you hands, I love you everything, to really come into that state of love. Because we chose this, we might as well love it. So we get to that space of loving our physical body and then loving our message. Confidently declaring our message. Confidently declaring our message. That means, well, maybe I'll do this. No, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll do, no. You gotta like anchor it into your knowing and just blaze it out like a firecracker of light. I'm here to do. And then be present for that. Because the other part of the sacral is we can jump ahead, like jump ahead. You know, we all know the people when you're talking to them and they're thinking about their grocery list, or okay, after this conversation, I have to do the next thing and then the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. You're watching them. You don't have to be an energy reader. They're looking over your shoulder. They're tapping their foot. They're like, you're like, they're not going to remember a thing I just said because they've already moved past me. Or you have the person who is so internalized that they're worried more about themselves than they are what you're saying to them, right? And so you can see it, feel it, sense it, and know it. So we want to be present because that's the connection. Sacral is how, I call it the sex and money chakra. It's kind of a thing because when we are sexy, and I don't mean like, I was going to do the graphic of sex. I don't mean sexy, like sexy. So we don't need to have sex to be sexy, right? But when we are sexy, like when we are confident, that's when everything happens. That's when people believe us. Because if we can believe us, they can believe us. But we have to believe us first. Right? So when we believe it, then we can have a conversation with anyone and they're like, yeah. So it's like in our businesses, and I'm just bringing it back to business, it's when you want to tell everybody what you're doing, just everybody, like it's a coffee shop. Yeah, no, I'm a business energy strategist. Look at sidebar, to keep it real. I wrote 2 books last year and it only took until like the beginning of this year. Like they're in bookstores and I was still like, I'm a life coach. And my husband kept going, she's an author. And I'm like, I'm a life coach. And then she's an author. And then this year I'm like, oh, I'm an author. Like it's a thing. Like, so like, we're all going through the motions at the same time, right? So now I lead with I'm an author and a business energy strategist because it's like when we own it, then people pick up what we're putting down, right? So not being afraid to share all the time. That's how open sacral. Yeah, no, this is what I do. And then if somebody's like, tell me more, you don't go like, this is not the right time. I'm at a shower or I'm at a bar or I'm wherever, right? It doesn't matter. You're just like, yeah, I'll tell you what I'm doing. This is like the coolest thing. And then people will reach back out to you. But the biggest thing of the sacral, like the biggest, is that's where feminine energy lives. That's our deep connection to feminine energy. And this is the anchor for the sacral. The willingness to give up control. The willingness to give up control, and that we have to do everything. And in the willingness to give up control and that feeling that we need to do everything is the knowing that we are always nurtured and cared for. That's what feminine energy does. So we are never the one that's responsible. We always have her. We always have her. So we can completely release into that knowing. Right? So that's a really powerful releasing. And then when you're confident in your body and your message, declaring it out, being present with the person that you're talking to, that translates into people wanting into our spaces, into our lives, into what it is that we're offering. Yeah. You want me to keep going? Because the bottom three are like kind of like a big deal. They're the biggest deal because most people focus on the heart up. I'm not going to lie. I call us humans tend to be packers. Like we pack down into the bottom lower three chakras because we're like, I love to give with my love and to talk about like things and third eye meditation and crown. But who here just willingly and knowingly is like, I want to do myself a root chakra meditation today?
You know what's so funny is that like, I know, so I've had a lot of physical stuff happen within my root and my sacral chakra. So that, but it's the hardest to navigate through because there is so much there. So yes, please keep going.
Solar plexus.
Right.
Solar plexus, right at the belly button. It's like my husband used to play Mortal Kombat, and like, so Mortal Kombat like was the old Nintendo game or Sony game, I'm not sure, but one of the players actually used to say, right in the solar plexus when it used to punch. I don't know if anybody knows.
Oh my gosh, I literally think that just got triggered because I didn't have it, but my cousin did. Oh, that was old. That was an old one. You're right back up there. Oh, brother.
But that's like, it's so funny, but I love that the language has been around so long that it's in a Mortal Kombat, like, video game. Anyway, so here's the stinky deal about the solar plexus. It's kind of like our energy junk drawer. Like, think about your junk drawer in your house. What's in there? Can you even tell me? Like, no, right? We just stuff everything in it. Like, oh, look at this loose piece of paper. I don't know where it goes. Junk drawer. Oh, look at this pen. I'm not close to wherever else, a million places I put my pen. Junk drawer. Like, oh, there's a paper clip, a tack, a candle for a birthday cake, you name it.
Yeah.
It makes it into the junk drawer. Guys, that's what we basically do with things we don't want to deal with. We put it in our energy junk drawer. So I explain it as like, we have within a few seconds, because people tell us things all the time. Like, and I'll give you an example of my grandmother. She's like 85 to give her credit, but she's kind of always been cranky. I call her like, when we do nanny voice, it's like, Tamara, like that's how she talks. Right? And so I go to my nanny's, and it doesn't matter. When I was really, really lean, I looked sick, right? And when I have any, like she always has something to complain about your physical being. It doesn't matter where I was on the spectrum, right? Yeah. But I always lean over her because she's a tiny little woman, and I lean over her because she can't get up, and I give her kisses. And, you know, she'll grab my belly. She just literally just little hands grab my belly, and she'll go like, what's this? I'm like, what do you mean, Nan? What's this? And she's like, what's this? And I'm like, it's my stomach. She's like, it's big. I'm like, thanks, Nan. Thanks. Love you. And you know, you kind of leave.
Stick with me.
Well, it could.
If
that we have that 3 seconds to be like, Nanny's just a cranky old woman, and it doesn't matter where my body is. I'm not taking this in. I'm not making this a belief about myself, because solar plexus stuff creates our belief in ourselves. And so I'm not putting it in the junk drawer, right? But as kids, as, you know, young adults, as young, how many times did our parents say something to us like, you know what, you're meant to be seen, not heard, like go shush yourself, tone it down, you know what I mean, how whatever it is that we grew up listening to about ourselves. And sometimes people didn't even say anything. Like if our parents just didn't talk to us, we're like, we must not have anything good to say, because our solar plexus becomes the place of, you know, if our solar plexus is full, guys, we're really struggling with feeling deserving, feeling worthy, feeling seen, and feeling heard, because that there is something. I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it.
Do it.
Can we just do something right now?
Go for it. You do whatever you want.
Interactive activity.
Bring it.
All right, guys. I just want you to be honest and real with yourselves right now, and write down all the things you're saying to yourself that aren't necessarily the nicest. Like, you know, I don't know anything about tech. I'm not good at sales call, whatever it is. Like, all just keeping it real. We don't have to share, but I want you to write them down. Just do it. It's like nobody's going to see your sheet, and we don't even have to talk about it because it's not my call. Because if it was my call, you'd all say them out loud, every person, but that's not me. Because I make people talk all the time. Just take a second, write it down. I'm getting sweaty, so I'm going to take off my... Getting animated. They never feel good, by the way. They never do. I can only see Jillian, so I can only feel Jillian really. So like poor Jillian, I'm just like right next to them. I keep not you, Bolans, the other one.
I figured.
Yes. All right. So now I'm gonna do something, and you can mute yourself, Bolans. But I'm gonna bring my friend up. This is Mr. Biggles. With a friend's help, I've realized he's a Musibaramus because he doesn't look like anything. So he's a Musibaramus. He's a multiple kind of animal. But now what I want you to do, if you can, is look at Mr. Biggles and all those things you wrote down, tell them to him. You are muted, so you can say, you are this, you are that, you are that. So go ahead, look into little Mr. Biggles' eyes and tell him all those things. Right? Can you tell Mr. Biggles he is not this and not that and not all those things? This is the picture you want to get, Jillian. Right? If you can't say it to Mr. Biggles, you shouldn't be able to say it to yourself. And if you're saying it to yourself, it's not yours, because you would never say that to yourself. So that came from somebody. That is somebody else's belief that you do not need to carry anymore. Right? And if you like, how we get rid of that is simply by just looking at everything. So when you have those thoughts, guys, like if it's like, you know, I'm not good at this, right? If that's like, I'm not good at tech, I'm not good at whatever, right? When you have that thought, stop yourself. Say, would I say it to Mr. Biggles? If you wouldn't say it to Mr. Biggles, say, why am I saying it to myself? I'm going to tell you, we'll tell you where it came from, right? And we don't have to make this hard. We can just choose to say that's no longer valid and just toss it out of the drawer. Toss it out of your belief system, right? Like we don't have to go deep into our past to figure it out. No, we don't have to, right? Simple is, I don't need to carry this anymore. I just don't believe it anymore because I'm an adult and now I can change my belief systems anytime I want. Toss the belief. And maybe it takes a few times, right? A few things are going to come up. You're going to have to go through it a couple times just to empty out the drawer. But know that nothing you wrote, you actually believe. Okay? I feel you. This one is a hard, right? Because the opposing part to this is I am worthy. I am deserving. I am seen and I am heard. And so it's worth clearing the junk drawer. It just, you know what I mean? So that you can breathe into a brand new belief-filled life that you can legitimately write for yourself today. Step by step. Like, it's like, I'm here, you guys, because I've done a lot of this. Thanks, Brandy. See you later. Right? I have spent the last 3-4 years working through this stuff. Okay. So like, if I'm here and you're like, oh, she's just got it all figured out. No. I cannot tell you the depth of tears I have cried to get to this place. Right. But I'm going to go into the heart, because I know, knowing Jillian, she's got a whole bunch of heart loving, full, connecting givers in this group. And I'm going to bring a really important thing. So cord cutting, we talked about, but our heart is not only the muscle that keeps us alive physically, right? We look at our heart as, you know, if it stops pumping, we stop living. The heart is our energy breath, right? We inhale from the universe into our heart and we exhale from our heart. And to give you an example of a clear heart chakra, so I'm super cheesy, you're going to learn that right off the bat. So what we want is to be like a Care Bear. All right. So Care Bears have zero attachment up in Care-a-Lot. They're playing, they're on the teeter-totter. They live and play and joy. When the alarm goes off, right? Little Timmy in Arkansas is having a problem. They stand there and they're able to be in Care-a-Lot and share their love from Care-a-Lot all the way. This is like an unending flow of amazing love energy. What happens to humans, since we are not Care Bears, is that we become collectors of other people. Oh, so-and-so sad. Let me just like make them feel better. We tuck it in our heart. Oh, you know, my son had mental illness. Let me be responsible for him. Let me just place him in my heart. And we start to fill our hearts with other people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions because we love them. Not because we know what we're doing, but because we genuinely want to make the world another place. This is where we think we need to put our clients, even if we're not even talking about family. So-and-so's not getting the results in the program. It must be my fault. Let me take them in. Let me like, on them in Messenger. Should I do these things? And everything goes. Right? And so we lose a lot of our space. So 2 things. I want you guys to notice the way that you breathe in your day-to-day life. Is it shallow? Is it deep? Oh yeah, I just noticed somebody wasn't inhaling, Jillian, because I can see you, right? Right? Because that was a conscious thought where you're like, shit, I'm either not breathing or I'm not inhaling, which tends to be what happens when our heart is full, is that you might have to remind yourself to breathe throughout the day because you're not breathing. Or you are like, have a really slow exhale. And then you're like, I gotta breathe, right? Like the inhale is the challenge. And that mirrors the room that we have in our heart, right? And so like if you are afraid of just giving your heart out to everyone, it'll be a shallow breath. You won't deeply breathe because you're like, I'm kind of afraid of like putting my heart out too much because what if it's hurt? And I'm afraid to bring in too much because what if something bad comes in, right? Like we create a very shallow breath. So when our heart is full, we're not Care Bears. We can't give endlessly with a beautiful vibration. We become, you know, laser pointers for the cats, right? Everybody knows laser pointer for a cat. So, you know, if you put a laser pointer straight, the light doesn't go very far, right? You lose it. It goes like, oh, you can see red, and then it just disappears in front of you. It doesn't land anywhere. But you can place it down on the ground, so about 2 feet in front of you, and that's about as far as it'll go. When your heart is chocked full of other people's stuff, that's about how strong your vibration of gift becomes. And so I'm going to tell you what to do. Don't worry. I'm not going to be like, everybody's like, no, this is not a Care Bear. I'm not a Care Bear. Cord cut is the one thing which I'm going to be giving you guys. And the other piece of this is just visualize the people in your life and just imagine them coming out of your heart. Simple. Again, you could write them down on paper, you could journal them, you can close your eyes. I went on a walk one day and I just started talking, and I was just talking everybody out of my heart and imagining them going up into the sky where, that's a whole team of people more capable of taking care of every single human on the land. Like, that's their sole purpose, than my little human body trying to cram everybody into me. Because when your heart's full, it's also exhausting. It's tired. You're tired. You can't actually. So clearing your heart and doing cord cutting just creates a big open wide space. So for whatever so you can be a Care Bear, right? And you'll always notice where that is by focusing on your actual current breath, because your breath will mimic your energetic breath, right? And I'm going to make this even simpler at the end of this. Your throat is the vehicle for getting your mission out into the world, right? Like, it doesn't get out any other way. We can think, if we think things, people will read our minds, but surprisingly that doesn't happen. As much as I've tried, I really do sometimes think I can be telepathic sometime in a future life. And so I could just sit here, you guys would hear me. I practice with my eye gestures a lot, but it's not there yet. So we have to use our voice. So we have to get into the habit of knowing that whatever it is that we're thinking or feeling has permission to come out of our voice. This is a big one, because if we are holding back in our personal life, in our family life, in our whatever, we are training ourselves not to have the capacity to be utilized in any way. I tend to talk about it as a superpower of your written word or your actual speaking voice. If we're going to use our voice to amplify our message, right, like to really amplify it, you don't have to try and be all the things. If you're just starting to get your business off the ground, I don't know where you are, or even in your personal life, choose one or the other, and you will already know this about yourself. Like, you could just sit there and you could write for hours, you can journal for hours, you can do all the writing and feel so good, but the thought of getting up on video makes your skin crawl. Don't do video right now. Just don't, right? Like, focus on what is your superpower to amplify your message, and then you can work on the other one on the side if you want to. I don't even think you have to, right? But if you're the type of person who loves to like a boxer or like voice send everybody your like messages, you hate typing totally is a waste of time. Like, why would I sit there and type a message when I can just press record and it gets there way faster, and emails are dumb and all of these things? Guess what? Written word doesn't juice you up. So do everything in voice, video, get it all out. Podcasts, that kind of thing, super amazing. You can have both superpowers, you can, but if you don't, why? Who cares? Just focus on the one that is yours. But the way that we know our throat chakra is not open, multiple ways, right? If you clench your teeth. Generally speaking, clenching your teeth doesn't mean that you don't speak your voice, but you sure as heck hold back, right? You soften what you're going to say, or you say it in a way that you think people need to hear it. So you clench your teeth because you're holding in the way how you really want to say it, right? The other way that happens is we tend to get colds or flus when because think about this, guys, think about it. Like, technically our voice is the only way we can get things out of our body, like writing and our voice are the only two outlets for things that are in us to get out of us. There's no other exit strategy in any way, shape, or form. We cry, but generally speaking, it's because we've said something or we've written something that brings out the crying. So if you're not utilizing either one of these to get anything that's going on in your body out, what happens? It goes somewhere, right? Like, it has to be somewhere in the body. So it will. That's when I always say it starts with something small, like a cold. I used to get, just so you guys know how much I did not use my voice, I had chronic, what's it called, sinusitis all the year, like 4 times a winter at least. And I had colds all summer, because that's normal. It's not normal, right? Summer's like the non-cold season. But I was sick all the time because I was never sharing what I really thought or felt, right? Because this is the only way to get things out. So like, that's why when I say I make everybody talk and stuff, it's because like, I'm like, let's get it out. Like all the good stuff comes out our mouth. But I just mean it in the way of energy. And so we want to get everything physically out of our body. And so like, it starts with being able to share. And again, if you spend most of your life trying to share to the wrong people, you're not really like thinking this is a good idea, Tamara. Because there are actual, like this group, like your academy is a perfect place for you to share, because it gives you a beautiful sacred space to voice the things, all the things, the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions. This is what I'm going through. It is so safe and loving that get comfortable using your voice in here, so that you can let it all out of your physical being, and then you can start using it in the way of serving your people, right? But you got to get super, super good at just feeling safe and using your voice. Sometimes that's the first phase. It's like, I can say these things and nothing bad will happen, right? So utilize the academy as being a really great landing place for that. And so then it becomes how we confidently declare. So that's sacral, right? The voice helps us be fully seen in our messaging, and however that may be, right? But notice yourselves, guys, if you're not feeling, the only other time I'll say you might get sick is if you change, and I'm going to bring this to you, Jillian, when you change your niche from one to another. So I used to work with moms who had children with mental illness. That was my first book. And then I started to work with spiritual entrepreneurs. The best example I can give of this is like, imagine that you're driving in a car down the highway, right? This is me serving moms who had children with mental illness. I'm not going to stop the car and park it. Get out of the car and get into a new car, and then start to build momentum up to get into serving spiritual entrepreneurs, right? So what I do, or anybody does, is you keep driving, keep driving, and pull up a car beside the first car on the highway so you don't lose any momentum, and just jump. Super safe in the imaginary world of energy. It's not like in the real world. But there's that brief time where you're not in either car that we tend to get sick, because we are not secure in our new course of action and our new tribe and our new voice, right? When we get into third eye, guys, I'm going to keep this one as super simple. This is where trust lives, right? Full trust in whatever it is everything's going to be okay. Nothing bad can happen, and all my needs are met. Everything else is a creation that you are devising of your own ego. Everything's going to be okay. Nothing bad can happen, and all my needs are met. And if you lived into those three things, there would be no worry. There would be no stress. There would be no rabbit holes of disaster that we create, right? Like I said, this is also the place where illusion thoughts live. Like that's where, I could totally go super spiritual here. So I'm not going to do it, because I'm like, I want to come to A Course in Miracles with you guys, but I won't. But like, we as humans created fear-based thoughts. They're not real. They're not real. Guilt does not exist. Shame does not exist. Blame. It's what we manifest. We create that. Like, think about that, right? We often feel guilty before we say something to somebody. There's no way they made us feel guilty. Like, if you're not going to a Christmas dinner or a dinner party over the holiday season, right? And then you finally get up the nerve to text your friend and say, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well, I'm not coming tonight. And they say, okay, cool. And then you're like, I feel so guilty that I didn't go. I'm a terrible friend. They always come to my things and I didn't go to theirs. I say this because like, they've said, okay, cool. And then we make the guilt happen, right? So if we could get into that, just that pure sense of knowing everything's going to be okay, nothing bad could happen, and all my needs are met, we wouldn't worry about where our clients were coming from. We would never think that we would never have money coming into our business, because we would believe it before we saw it, because we would trust all of those things. And then the top is our beautiful crowns. This is the first phase of receiving. And I'm going to keep this one as simple as I possibly can too. And that is, can you receive a compliment? It could be straight, like somebody says, oh my God, you are absolutely beautiful. Would you be like, thanks? But in your head, like, would you be like, what the fuck is wrong with that person? What do they want? What are they like, where is this coming from? They, you know what I mean? Like, are you questioning the receipt or are you just receiving it? Right? Because we talked about the heart being the exchange of energy, like we breathe in love and we breathe out love, right? So compliments, kind words, gratitudes, prayers, we receive, you know, money, abundance, all those things through the crown of our head. Now, what will stop us from being open to receiving is if shitty things happened in our life. Like maybe it's like, you know, there was a time where I truly believed every time my business would move forward, something bad would happen with my mom or my son, right? So I was paranoid, you guys, to receive. Because if I received the good, it sure as heck meant the bad was coming right after, right? So I kind of shut myself down because it was safer, it was easier, I was less scary, and I was protecting myself. Because I didn't want to open up, because I was so full, anything coming in was going to tip me over. Like, it didn't matter if it was good or bad. It was like, I can't handle one more thing. Like, when things were bad with Ethan, I, like, to the extreme of where I am, I used to open my eye in the morning and be like, oh, it's another day. Oh, I wonder what bad thing's going to happen today. Something bad happened every day, right? So like, I wasn't opening up for anything else. Like if I could just get through whatever was happening with Ethan in the day, I was like, yeah, me, you are a rock star. So my crown was closed for a really long time. I'm going to give you what I tell every single person to make this the easiest thing to open in your life. And that is I put a bouncer on my crown chakra. Sounds really ridiculous. But imagine that you have the control, because we're in this to place a being, an energy, anything. Like you can make it Archangel Michael, you can make it whatever you want, but nothing gets in that is not positive. I believe that. Once I put the bouncer up, I was like, bouncer, this is like legit the conversation I have, so you can think I'm nuts or not, but I'm like, listen, God, you put me on this earth to do energy reading in people. Like you want me to go around telling people I'm going to jump in their chakras and tell them what's going on in their body. I need your help, because if I'm going to open up and just start telling the world this is what I'm doing, I can't take in any haters or trolls or people that don't believe in what I do or all that. So you gave me a big job, so you're going to put a bouncer up here, and if anything bad starts to come into my like even vicinity, the bouncer's going to redirect it, so that I can be in a state of receive at all times. And then you have to trust, right here, that nothing can be mad. And I forget what the third one is because I'm really excited right now. So, and then, right, you get into that space because the bouncer's there, that everybody who reaches out to you, there's no ulterior motive, because they're coming because you've got the bouncer there. So it's only there through grace. You trust that, you know, every conversation that you have, there's a reciprocal meaning that it's meant to be had. Like it just makes everything in life easy. And like, why would we make things harder if we can make them easier? And then when we're open vessels, like think about this. And that beautiful receive goes all the way down. We're not getting caught in the dryer cycle of our thoughts, right? We accept the receive. We're not afraid to use our voice to get that message to our people, our clients, our divine collective. We then allow it to go into knowing that we deserve it, that we're worthy of it, that we can be seen and heard. We step up fully with confidence into that declaration, releasing the need to control it, detaching emotionally, detaching from all outcomes, hits our root chakra where we are just open to our tribe, our vibe, our everything. Boom, there goes the bat signal. Sounds really easy.
That was so awesome. Like, holy cow. The value you just packed into this call, I'm like, holy shit. It's amazing. Oh my gosh. That was incredible. And I am going to go listen to this multiple times because you know me with my journey and what all that I'm learning and opening up right now. Tamara, thank you so much. I was like drooling. It was so good. Oh my gosh.
I'm so grateful to all of you. Thank you for having me, right? Like I just think it's such a powerful thing, this exchange of energy that we're having in this group today. Like I'm honored to be here and to be in this space with you guys. But again, if you guys have questions, you can throw them out there.
Yeah. Well, to respect everyone's time, I think we're going to wrap.
Okay.
But Tamara, if it's okay, if people have questions, can they send you a Facebook message or send me one?
Please.
Okay.
I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
It's a thing. I love people.
Oh my gosh, I love you so much, and I'm so grateful to you, and I'm so grateful for the time that you gave us. Like, oh, I receive, and you have said those 3 things to me before. Everything's going to be okay. All my needs are met. Nothing bad will happen, and I'm just so grateful that I got to receive it again, because I was like, oh yeah, light bulb reminder. Like, it's that easy, and it's beautiful. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. I really are.
I love you.
Love you.
Okay, Academy Soul Sisters, thank you for being here. Thank you for those of you that have watched the recording. And Tamara, watch out. You may get like 30 different messages from people.
Oh, good. I love it.
Oh, I love you.
Love you.
Yes, thank you.
Guys.
Bye. Bye.